Yes, good morning and welcome to AM Agenda, to our panel, the Labor member for Dobell, Craig Thompson, with me in Canberra. Craig, thanks for coming in.
G'day, Kieran. How are you?
Good, thanks, mate. Very well. And in Sydney, we've got Michael Johnson, the Liberal member for Ryan. Michael, thank you. Good to see you. And can I start with you? The storm, of course, in Brisbane, affected a lot of the area around your local electorate. The Prime Minister has inspected that firsthand this morning. What would you be calling on Mr Rudd to do? Any extra funding or emergency funding?
Good morning, Kieran. Well, first of all, can I thank the Prime Minister for his generous offer. This is very welcome by the constituents of the Ryan electorate. I think it's appropriate and it's a good use of taxpayers' money, and I think this is a time for all of us to come together, to work together, federal, state and local governments, and that's what we've been doing.
Michael, you inspected some of the area yourself yesterday. It was just remarkable how substantial that damage was from Sunday's storm.
Yeah, look, I spent nearly all day there yesterday before flying to Sydney, and my heart goes out to all the families. It's really it's devastating. You walk the streets of the Gap, roofs just blown to pieces, fences broken, swimming pools just having collapsed under the sheer weight of the ferocious winds, and I just thank all the people of the Gap in particular that have come together. I was talking to local residents, so many young guys coming out with chainsaws and helping to cut down trees that had fallen on the roads, and there were stories of pretty remarkable heroism as well. People cutting paths through roads so that ambulances can get through to pick up people in need of emergency services. So just the great spirit of Australia coming through.
We just saw some images there of the Prime Minister and the Premier Anna Bligh inspecting some of the areas. I suppose it's remarkable, Michael, very sadly one life was lost, but it's remarkable that there wasn't more serious damage in the human impact.
That's right, Kieran. I think that we can count our lucky stars that it didn't happen during a working day, during school hours. A couple of schools in my electorate, Hilda Road in particular and the Gap, just torn to pieces. And I urge the Queensland government to perhaps look at even rebuilding the whole school. That's how bad the damage is. The library at Payne Road School, completely soaked. Every book in that library in Payne Road, as if the books had just been put in a bathtub. So I'm going to try and run a bookathon and encourage people throughout the electorate to make a contribution to that library. But I would like to say thank you to the Queensland Government, thank you to the Prime Minister and the Federal Government. This is good government, this is compassionate government, this is appropriate use of taxpayers' money, and on behalf of the Ryan electorate and especially the people of the Gap, of course, much needed. And again, I salute the spirit of the local people that have pulled together at a time when they need to pull together.
All right, let's change focus now and turn to the inaugural Council of Australian Local Governments. Craig, more than 400 mayors from around Australia here. Some would have obviously come from your area on the central coast of New South Wales, and we're expecting millions of dollars, 300 million in extra infrastructure spending. Is that going to have an impact, do you think?
Well, I think it is, because it's money that's going to be spent this financial year, and it's projects that local councils have a wish list all the time of projects that they want to be delivering on but can't get there yet, and so this will create jobs locally, and that's the real focus of this. That it's the third stage in terms of the national stimulus package. We've had the $10.4 billion, we've had the car package of $6.4 billion, now $300 million going locally, where people work, where local jobs are, and where the economy is also going to be hit. So it's very targeted, and it's something that I know that the local councils will really be looking forward to.
$10.4 billion, the economic security package was obviously extremely substantial, and that's flowing into people's pockets as of next month. 300 million doesn't sound like anywhere near as significant an injection of a stimulus.
Well, it's a lot of money for local councils, and it's a lot of money that they're going to get now as well too, so that those projects that they were thinking about in the future, they can get out and do them right now. And I think, look, Michael would agree with me that local council plays a vital role in terms of the services locally, but they often struggle to have the money to deliver all the things that they want to do, and this is injecting money locally where it's needed. And most importantly, with this day today, we're really opening up a new level of dialogue with local council. That's vitally important, I think.
Michael, do you agree, or is this another one of the summit's Kevin Rudd summits that have been derided, that won't, that'll come up with a few picture opportunities, but that's about it. What's your thought on it?
Well, there's said to be a few picture opportunities. Look, let's hope that it's not a talk fest. Let's hope that it's not just another spin fest. I think the opposition's position is that we do welcome exploring this idea. Certainly coming from the Queensland perspective, local government is a creature of the state government, and I think that this amount of fund is welcome. Let's not forget that, of course, if the Rudd government didn't inherit a great surplus of some $22 billion, the Rudd government wouldn't be in a position to spend any of this. I do note, however, that I think the local councillors are asking for somewhat $250 million a year over 4 years, and that's just the minimum. So I'm not sure how far this will go, but on the surface, let's explore it. We do support the initiative of it, but let's hope it's not just a spin fest, and I'm sure Craig would agree with me on that point.
Michael, Anthony Albanese, the infrastructure minister, says that there have been a lot of areas neglected, that local pools, town halls and so on have been neglected over the decade of the Howard government. If all these councils need so much work to be done, is that a fair cop?
Well, look, the first thing that's got to be said, and I just remind your viewers and all Australians, is that when the Howard government came to office in 1996, there was no money in the bank. The government owed some $96 billion. And if you've got to pay back the bank, how can you spend money? So that's the first point. The second point I'd like to make is that, look, any investment in local communities is important, but it's got to be prioritised, it's got to be relevant, it's got to be producing some sort of outcome, and I welcome it. I'm certainly going to put my hand out on behalf of the local communities in Ryan for funds which were left to the Rudd government to spend on this kind of important project and important communities.
Craig, it is important that it is targeted and that it doesn't become subject to claims of pork barrelling and so on. It needs to have the integrity of the greatest of integrities, because when you talk about handing out money to local areas, I mean, the claims of pork barrelling are obviously going to flow if it's not done right.
Well, some of these details are going to be announced later today, but what we certainly don't want to go down is the regional rorts route that we saw the Howard government embroiled in for many years. This is going to be a proper process. They're going to be proper projects that local people want, that local councils can do. Oh, no, yeah, but you won't, Michael. You won't, Michael. I'm sure you'll be. Well, I think $300 million is not a spin fest. That's real money, and Michael has said that he supports that, as anyone would. $300 million is a lot of money that's going to local areas. This is not about pork barrelling. This is about making sure that local councils can get properly resourced, and God knows that they need it. They've had 11 or 12 years with the Howard government where these sorts of initiatives haven't taken place, and look, talking to the mayors last night, they were thrilled at being here. They were looking for something from the federal government, and today they've got it.
So you think we can expect later today, when the Prime Minister speaks, that we will have some measures in place, some conditions in place to ensure that it's all spent appropriately? Look,
the Prime Minister and the Minister, Anthony Albanese, will be going through the nuts and bolts of how this particular fund works and operates, but we're not going to go down the regional rorts path. We're going to make sure that this money is spent properly, and that local councils can really deliver for local people.
Do you know, Craig, if it's going to be spent on roads?
Well, we've just spent a record amount given in Roads to Recovery for the local councils. We've increased our funding dramatically from what you did, Michael, in the previous years.
Well, Anthony Albanese's media release said it was going to be spent on roads, but today's newspapers say that it's not going to be spent on roads. So I'm just wondering whether any of the $300 million is going to be spent on local roads in my electorate, because they've been neglected.
Well, you know,
by the Queensland government.
Michael, if you talk about neglect, then you've really got to look at your own house there a little bit. We've been in government just on 12 months
for the last 20 years, and I suspect that you're in Canberra because you want to disassociate yourself from the New South Wales Labor government, which is really a dog's breakfast in this state, and you want to be associated with the local mayors of Sydney.
Look, Kieran, what we're getting from Michael, and Michael's a good bloke, but what we're getting is typical of the Liberal Party. They're looking at who they can blame rather than getting on and doing the job, which is what the Rudd government's all about.
All right, gentlemen, we'll leave that segment of the program where it is, and we'll stay with us after the break. Though we've got a bit more to get across this morning on AM Agenda, so stay with us.